Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to checking out the YouTube version of Cinematic Autopsy. We've noticed a lot of you are watching and have not subscribed.
Yes.
So,
Please
it would,
subscribe.
yeah, before we begin, it would be wonderful if you guys could click on that little link right there, right, see where I'm pointing right there, and you'll notice that if you scroll down, you'll see subscribe. So subscribe to us, CL Squared Productions. You'll be able to see our videos, stuff.
We have lots of cool
our
content for you
trailers.
guys. You'll know everything that we're up to in the film world, whether we're talking about it or doing it.
Exactly. So let's give you 5 seconds to subscribe. All right, everyone. We'll see you guys soon. Hey, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome. Yeah.
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to Charles and Chelsea Cinematic Autopsy. I'm Chelsea LeSage, and that's Charles D. Lincoln.
Yeah, this is
And together,
the
we are the Diabolic Duo.
the ASMR.
The ASMR.
Yeah,
This is the ASMR podcast.
Yeah, because
Yes.
I'm not feeling great, so I'm not going to be my normal loud self today. At least I'll try not to be, because I'll probably fucking hawk over and die if I do. But
You know you're going to wind up just like speaking how you normally do as soon as we get into it.
I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm that excited about this movie enough to speak the way
Oh
I
my God,
normally
thank
do.
God.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll really get into that in a little bit. But yeah. So hey
Do
everyone,
we
welcome.
have to?
Yes, we
Welcome,
do.
welcome.
Yeah. Also, by the way, since I am
Oh,
sick,
boy.
for those of you with your mucophilia who were excited about Chelsea doing it, we felt, hey, all the people who like the ladies, they got to see Chelsea with a runny nose all the time, and they don't get to see me doing it. So, if you like seeing the men, like, there you go. I hope this is very exciting for those of you with a mucus fetish. So, and you get to see my
Are there people with mucus fetishes?
Yes, it's called mucophilia. If it has a name,
I've
it
never heard of it.
exists.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because the internet said so.
Well, I mean,
the internet is never wrong.
It depends.
Yeah.
So
anyway, we're here to talk about the Nightmare on Elm Street.
2010, yes,
But
2010 version of Nightmare on Elm Street from director Samuel Bayer and starring. Hello. You can hear me,
who?
right?
I think there's a lag. Yes, there's just a lag.
Yeah. Did you not hear when I said the director, or are you insulting the director by saying who?
Both.
Well, let's not do that. That's not nice.
I couldn't hear you. You're lagging as fuck right now.
Oh, okay. Shit. Hold on. Is this any better?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, let's see what we can do. If apparently there is some sort of lag, which will make for the best podcast ever. So
it's the ASMR podcast, the musical, right? ASMR.
Yes. So we are
going
to so we're covering, as I said, Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 from Platinum Dunes, directed by Samuel Bayer and starring Jackie Earle Haley, who said that he hated the original, which is probably not the thing you want to say when you're the star of the remake.
This iconic character. Yeah.
He described it as the worst movie he'd ever seen.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That makes no sense. Listen, Jackie, old boy, old buddy, old pal, that don't make no sense at all.
I wonder honestly if that came from him not getting the role because he was Johnny Depp's friend who went to the original audition.
Right. I was trying to piece together while I was watching it because I know you'd mentioned it in the previous podcast. How that, yeah.
So I wonder if that was an issue.
Did you know now? So I watched an interview that was actually with the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trials, where Johnny
Uh-huh.
Depp said that he got Nightmare on Elm Street from Nicolas Cage, not from Jackie.
Really?
Yeah, he said
Mm,
that in the he said that on the stand.
yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, well, that's interesting. You
Oh,
know? I'm just thinking about
well,
like teenage him and Nick Cage just being best friends.
yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. That's weird. I always thought Nicolas Cage was more New York orientated because he came from the Coppolas.
I don't know. I don't
And
know.
all
But
of
apparently
his,
it was Nick Cage who was the one who brought him on that audition.
yeah,
Or the
and
no,
all,
Nick Cage got him his agent.
oh, okay. Well, that's a little different then.
Well, that's just what he's. I mean, but no, he
Yeah, like
attributed
I
getting Nightmare
know,
on Elm Street to Nicolas Cage.
yeah, like I know,
Swear to God.
Helen Mirren helped Liam Neeson get an agent because he didn't have one until they were a relationship.
Oh.
Yeah. So, because they started the movie Excalibur together, and
Mhm.
they met and became like a thing for 4 years, and she helped him get an agent and all that sort of stuff.
That's so interesting. I didn't even know they were together.
Hmm. Yeah, they were on
Wow.
the Graham Norton show talking about that,
That's
about how
cool.
they were, yeah. So, yeah, it seems we're talking about everything but this movie. So
That's okay.
yeah. So we go with the, it's funny, we go from the original, which had like that very like old school like VHS um New Line Cinema
Yeah.
logo. And now it's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the brand spanking new, like fucking all CG, all singing, all
New Line Cinema.
dancing.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
surprised it was still New Line Cinema. Like I guess like if you're like making some billions of dollars or millions of dollars on this franchise, of course you'd stick with it as a production company. But weren't you saying that New Line wasn't even they were like they weren't even what they
Well,
do now,
they
right?
came a production company from the first movie. That was
Yeah.
before that they were just a distributor. They just put out VHSs and
Right.
shit
That's what it
when
was.
yeah,
That's what it
well,
was.
when that happened. And then of course we got the Platinum Dunes logo. I'm also going to ask you to cover certain parts of this because I can't do as much talking. I'm already feeling the fucking pressure building in my sinuses right now. Um,
That's what
so,
she said. No, she never said that.
but yeah, we have a lot of like quick flashes of stuff. This is very like a post Saw, post like Marilyn Manson video like opening. In fact,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if
Yeah, it's very much
anything,
go ahead.
I was going to say if anything, and you can, um, attest to this whether or not it's true because you see the playgrounds and fire and hopscotch and shadows, and it feels less like the beginning of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie and more like the beginning of like a true crime thing on Netflix.
Yeah, that is true. That
Yeah,
is true.
yeah.
Especially with like it's got to be weird like for like diehard Nightmare on Elm Street fans who just they reluctantly go to the theaters to see this remake and just have no idea what the fuck this intro is. There's so many things that are introduced in this that I like imagine just pissed people off,
Yeah.
you know, like people
Well,
who love it so much.
it's interesting because, Freddy's not a child murderer in this one. Spoiler warning. And once again, as we always say, if you're listening to this, you probably should have watched the movie unless you don't care about being spoiled. Excuse me. In this one, Freddy is not a child killer, he's a child molester.
Yes, but
Um,
he is a child killer because the kids he kills are still children because they're under 18.
you
But
know, but
yes.
which was actually Wes Craven originally intended that in the original film. And then
Mm.
there was like a whole bunch of those cases there in real life, and he was like, "Oh, I don't want to exploit that."
Oh,
So he changed it to him being a child murderer instead. But
let's
um,
just make it more intense. Yeah, see, that'd be great. I love
yeah,
it.
the one thing that I really was disappointed by in the opening credits is I love the chalk like writing
Yeah,
of the like crew people's names and stuff.
yeah.
And then they ruin it by having just a regular Chiron over it.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know exactly why they did that. It wasn't absolutely necessary whatsoever. I'm like, we all used to write like that. We can read it.
Yeah, like I wonder if that was focus testing bullshit of some asshole in focus testing. Like, I can't read what they wrote on the sidewalk.
Yeah, because it's a really cool idea and they kind of fucked it
Yeah,
up. Agreed.
yeah.
But I like this intro. I like this opening. I think it's creepy because you're like, oh no, they're gonna fuck with some kids.
Hmm.
Like those are little,
Well,
little kids.
well, in Freddy's case, literally, but yeah. You know, so
I so badly
um
want to like skip to the ending and be like, and how do you feel about this? And how do you feel about
yeah,
that?
well, we'll get to that. So I do like the slight hints of Freddy's jump rope song in the background.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. And then we get to see it. I mean, it bothered me how much he actually sang the song. I'll say that up front
yeah,
himself. It's like,
yeah,
no, you want your like killer like theme song or like what they call you, like the Night Stalker or something. Like I'm using this as an analogy as the equivalent to like Freddy's song or whatever. You want
yeah,
the people who are terrified of you to make that up for you. You don't want to be
yeah,
singing it too.
yeah. Well, he's like I said,
You know?
he's not even like a child murderer in this film. Up
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
yeah, up until he gets them in their dreams. Yeah.
The interesting cast too. I mean, like I'd never seen this one.
Hmm.
Um interesting, like they got some big fucking names in this, you know, Rooney
Hmm.
Mara and fucking Connie Britton and Clancy Brown and stuff. I was
Hmm.
like, wow. I mean, I guess that I can imagine anyone jumping at the like chance to do be in the remake of Night, but it was more of like a reimagining, I think,
Yeah.
in a way.
When did Connie Britton do or is it Britton or Brighton? I've always wondered.
Britton,
Britton?
Britton. Yeah.
Yeah. When did she do American Horror, the first season of American Horror Story? Because
It was around this time.
I wonder if she got one from the other.
Yeah, I think that that must have been the thing. And then like also Rooney Mara getting Girl with the Dragon Tattoo around this
Hmm.
time. And then the guy who plays Quentin, I don't remember his name, but he was just in Jennifer's Body with Megan Fox and Amanda Seyfried. So
Which would
like,
explain
yeah,
why I have no idea who the hell he is. So
yeah. So,
yeah.
but he was like the big, like, you know, good, but like goth type kid in high school who like tried to ask out the popular girl and got murdered for it. You know,
Mm,
like he's very much, he just came off of a successful movie playing this character.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
But it's
we
really cool.
yeah,
It's
so
really cool.
why don't you cover the Springwood Diner so I can give my voice a rest for a couple moments?
Yes. Charles is sicky poo. So we're at the Springwood Diner and the N is, you know, the N is flickering out in the sign. You can just tell this is like a shit town, right? Which makes sense. It's raining. We see this like old school clock, and I wrote a guy with bad hair in a booth. He looks like he's in sync from the back because he does. Like I'm like, who let him have that haircut? This is very 90s. This is unacceptable.
Hmm.
I actually even had this thought where I was like, okay, this takes place in the late 90s
Mm,
because of this man's haircut, and that's not the case at all.
yeah.
There's
Actually,
like a zombie. What? Yeah,
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say the reason why they also went with molester instead of killer was that they figured it would be easier to hide it if he was a child molester than a killer, because now kids would all have phones where they'd be able to immediately look him up and see that he was a child killer.
Yeah, yeah,
You
that's
know,
true. Ugh,
even though, as
I
I said, I didn't really like, I mean, I get, okay, repressed memories and stuff, but the fact that every single one of them,
see that's the big thing that doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
You know, that's the big issue with this film is so there's a preschool, all right, everyone. There's a preschool that has been shut down because this dude named Fred Kreuger is molesting children in this little cave or this special room, and he lures them down there, and they're all around like 4 or 5 years old. Um, Now that these kids are all in their like late teens, like about to graduate high school and whatever, now he's coming for them, and none of them remember getting molested by this guy. Like I have memories from when I went through that, and I was around that age. You know, it's I can understand that people would just like block it out because of the trauma, but
Yeah.
every single one of them is the
Yeah.
conundrum. It's
Exactly.
every single one.
Exactly. Because, you
And
know, I
then they
mean,
also,
there are definitely people who block it
they,
out, but not every single one of them would not.
yeah, and they don't even like just block out that memory. They block out like being friends with these other kids who went
Hmm.
through the same shared trauma as you.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the big plot hole where like when I was starting to figure that out before you figure that out, um I was like, oh, I can imagine that would be enough for people to just turn off the movie because it's like such a distracting thing.
Hmm.
um doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so this NSYNC boy named Dean is in a booth in this diner in the middle of the pouring
Was
rain.
was there a member of NSYNC named Dean?
No, but there is now, and it's this guy.
Okay.
Yes. There's the sixth member of NSYNC. I don't know the actor's name. But I wrote, I want that diner cake. That's what I wrote. So basically there's this zombie waitress. She's not actually a zombie, but she's kind of just walking around, floating around with like a coffee cup or a coffee, what do they call it? Coffee
Hot.
pot, and is not refilling this guy's coffee, and he's pissed. He calls her a bitch. She walks into the kitchen. He walks into the kitchen. There's some fucked up shit in this kitchen, like a
Lots of
pig
pig
snout.
parts. Lots of pig
Yeah.
parts everywhere.
Lots of pig pots, lots of, and the kitchen's on fire. Like the stove is on fire. I love how he makes zero effort to like actually try and get rid of the flame at all. I'm like, because you imagine, you think about it, this is probably the only diner in this town, and they've been probably going there their entire lives, and you don't think you have an attachment to this diner. Maybe he blocked out the diner, and this
Hmm.
is his first time going to this diner because he just ignores the fact that the place is going up in flames to follow this waitress. Um,
Who we later
uh,
discover is
the
Nancy.
is Nancy, yes, played by Rooney Mara, who I absolutely adore. Um, so Freddy's behind him, and he turns around and he's not there. You see the blade scraping, claws him, and then we get back to him in the booth, and it's Rooney Mara, Nancy. She's one of those for me. I'm like, that's just Rooney Mara.
Yeah. See,
um,
it's funny. I'm not used to seeing her in stuff. I've seen Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but I don't really know her in other things.
well, you want to know what's
I know
funny
her
is,
sister a lot more.
yeah, what I was gonna say is that her sister was in the first season of American Horror Story with Connie Britton.
Yeah. Now Connie Britton can be like, "Hey, now I might as well be your mom now. I'm in everybody's family now."
Well, she was the one who like who Dylan McDermott cheated on Connie Britton with was what
Hmm.
what was her name?
I
Erin
remember.
Mana or whatever the fuck her
Yeah.
name is.
Yeah.
The other sister. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
God, I love that season so much. Let's talk about American Horror Story. So he keeps falling asleep, and she says they'll kick you out if you fall asleep. So his name's Dean, and he has the scrape on his hand from when Freddy scraped him in his
Hmm.
little dream at the booth. I've fallen asleep at a diner booth before. I've thrown
Yeah.
up on a diner booth before. So
The
this
one
girl, the blonde named Chris, go ahead.
the
Yes.
one thing I was gonna say is he has a giant gash on his hand and he's using a tiny little napkin to
Oh, like in diner napkins?
yes.
Diner napkins are like panty liners. Like there's I mean panty liners are more absorbent, but who the fuck uses panty liners? That shit like
Not me.
you're on don't lie. Don't lie to these people. The yes, so he's using a panty liner to scrape up his hand.
Yeah.
So then we meet Chris. And there's actually people in this diner. I assume people who are kind of just caught out in the rain and all that. But there's a significant amount of people in this diner. My next big complaint, not a big complaint, but it was a complaint enough where I wrote it down, that there's a couple walking out of the diner into, you cannot see out the windows. You do not drive when the rain is that bad. Why are they leaving?
Mm.
Any small
finished their
town diner will
meal.
be like, just stay here and wait out the storm. What are you gonna do? Hang out in your car? You're gonna die. Like, you don't need Freddy to die.
Mm,
What are you doing? Um, so yeah, so we meet Chris, and Chris is the blonde girl who's coming to
Dean.
meet Dean. She just broke up with Jesse. We meet this band of punks, who are several booths down.
Let's not insult the punk subgenre by
It's
basically
like it's like
describing this evil boy band as punks.
Are they an evil boy band? No,
That's what they
again.
came
This is
off
also
as to me.
yeah, that's like a
Everyone
play off
see
Jennifer's Body too, which is hilarious.
that was my problem. I think a little bit with the casting is that the original everyone seemed like real teenagers, and here they were like Hollywood teenagers.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, like how I complained that what's his face Rod in the first movie was a Hollywood bad boy, but everyone else were pretty much like regular teenagers. Here, everyone feels like they came right out of like, what a casting director would look for first when they were like, oh, we need
yeah.
teenagers. Find me some, boys with like, high hair and perfect complexions and cheekbones and,
Can they play high school? Great. You're 40. It works. It's fine.
yeah. The other thing I'll say as far as and as a wardrobe person, I noticed this and it kind of was odd to me. Why does Nancy have like fancy, sexy stockings as like the waitress?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like, no, unless your manager is Fred Kreuger and he's still alive, and that's a weird fetish of his, it doesn't make any sense where the small town diner would ask you to wear sexy stockings as a waitress.
Yeah, I have no idea why wardrobe gave those to her. Maybe the what like the clear like nude ones got wrecked or something. I don't know, but it stuck out to me because I was like, wait, no,
I'm
you never
thinking it's
you
the director being like, change her tights.
yeah. I
Maybe the
don't know.
director is Freddy Kreuger.
Let's not do anything that's going to get us a slander suit from the director, but you know,
It's just an option. It's an
yeah,
option. No hate
yeah,
towards the director. No hate.
yeah.
I like
S-
sexy stockings.
So, at this point, the three guys, I thought they were getting up to go kick Dean's ass, but I guess they're just getting up to leave.
In this torrential downpour.
Yeah, because the whole thing is they were all like, "Yeah, man, Dean's talking to your girl. Fuck it, that's fucked up." And then they all get up, and it's like, well, I guess they're gonna go beat him up, and then
Yeah.
it's
So this
like,
guy Jesse, who's at that table, and
yeah,
the guy's name is Jesse, who was just broken up with by Chris, who's sitting with Dean,
yeah,
just to catch y'all up.
and it's just like, fucking, it's like 4 minutes later that the scene ends, and I'm like, boy, it shouldn't take this long for them to get to his booth. So I guess they just left.
Yeah, no, it takes so the scene does go on, I think, a little long. They go to pay and they're fucking like dipshits about it and just throw like $3 and some change on the thing. And then we meet
Mhm.
Quentin, who has a crush on Rooney Mara, and pays for the rest of the bill. And we are hearing that Dean is telling Chris about these nightmares that he's having. And that's kind of how it all begins. Um,
Yeah.
the backstory of the preschool and stuff is kind of what I like about this, where it makes sense then with that backstory as to why the group that is chosen is the one that Freddy
Uh-huh.
stalks and kills.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, oh, it's like this disease that you catch, like, oh, you died in front of me, so now you're gonna be haunted like by Freddy. I mean, it's an interesting take on it.
Wait a minute, where'd that come from? That sounded like you were talking about Smile.
No,
Someone died in front of
no.
him? Like,
Well, they could have gone that route. That's what I'm talking about.
okay. Yeah, because I was like,
Yes.
that was Smile. I don't know. That wasn't the original film. Like the original film, he
No,
was
no.
killing the kids of the parents who set him on fire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know. Um
Throwing other things out there, Charles. I'm a creative. What do you expect me to
you
do?
know. So basically Chris starts saying that they're not dreams, I mean they're not real, they're just dreams, and he says they're real. The one thing I will So I'll say I didn't like this film, but there were elements that I liked.
Hmm.
Like you and I complained a lot about how everyone in the last film apparently was up for days and yet looked perfectly fucking fine.
Hmm.
And at least here, people look like they're fucking sleep deprived.
Yeah. I do like the explanation of like what happens to your body when you sleep, when you don't sleep and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like there were nice little nuances or touches that, most of the population probably wouldn't know.
yeah,
That it's good that they explained.
yeah. Because I mean,
Um,
I've definitely gotten the micro nap thing where you get so tired if you blink, you start dreaming.
mhm.
You know,
Yep. Yep. Literally have just been like standing up and being like, oh, my dead dog's here with me. And like, nope, that's not, nope, you were just washing the dishes.
yeah.
What is happening?
So
Yes.
he's at the diner table. He's spinning a knife, and then the lighting changes, which I guess indicates he's gone to sleep. And then Freddy
Mm-hmm.
makes him stab himself, and he's like, "You're not real," and he goes, "Oh, I am now."
I
And
don't know.
he slits his own throat and kind of ruins Nancy's shift if you think about it. You know,
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up. Like, how dare you do that?
yeah, because now Nancy's gonna have to stay there and talk to the police and fucking,
Yeah, you're just ruining her night. I mean, like the poor girl already has to fucking work in high school. That sucks as it
yeah,
is.
and then of course
Disrespectful.
we get a slash across the screen and the Nightmare on Elm Street logo, and we go to Dean's
Yep.
very well attended funeral.
Yeah, apparently everyone loved Gene because everyone loves NSYNC, even though they like the Backstreet Boys better. That's really what it is. So everyone's sad and crying, and then Chris is in the front row and sees a girl in a little blue dress who throws roses down into the grave. She throws it into the grave before the casket is in the grave, which is interesting. And then turns around and stares at her. We learn that Clancy Brown's character is Quentin's dad, and that Connie Britton is Nancy's dad, and that they know each other. He works at the
Nancy's mom.
school.
Nancy's mom.
Nancy's dad.
Yeah. So
Connie Britton is Nancy's dad.
I'll say I kept referring to Clancy Brown as Clancy Brown, not only because he is Clancy Brown, but because I don't recall them ever saying his character's name at any
No, they
fucking point
didn't.
in the movie.
They didn't even talk about. They didn't. No, they did not, and they did not talk about like what his role at the school is
Yeah,
either.
I assumed he was a
Like,
counselor or the principal or something, but they never actually
yeah, but they
say what he
never talk
does.
about it. They never talk about it. I'm like, oh, they got Clancy Brown. Okay, well, his name's Clancy.
And that's the thing. Clancy Brown isn't bad in this. He's trying his best. He really is
No,
trying his best.
he's doing great. Like, I think all of the
Yeah,
performances were great. You do
yeah,
what you can with what you can when you can, if you
yeah.
can. Yes, that's how I feel.
I'll say the writer talked about how there's a quote from the writer I was going to bring up because the writer actually said that this was two scripts that were combined, and then he was supposed to make them into one script.
Okay.
And then he said that once he made that script, he says, on my first day on set, a crew member told me this intro scene for the two leads, we decided there wasn't enough dialogue for them at this party. So we took some dialogue from page 87 and put it here.
Yeah.
So, and in a follow-up tweet, he wrote, in case you were wondering, that is not how this is supposed to work. So
Oh.
apparently they were kind of cutting up his script a lot and, putting things when they weren't in the script when they were shooting. Also interesting is that Wes Craven, by the way, was very against this because they didn't consult with him at all on it.
They didn't.
No, not at all. He basically just kind of learned from reading like the Variety or something that they were doing a remake.
That makes me really sad.
Yeah. What's
I was
funny
thinking
is,
about it and I was, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
well, I was going to say what's funny is the person who was encouraging the remake was Robert Englund. Because
Really?
Robert Englund, and, until he actually saw the movie, but every step of the way leading up to it, he was talking positively about it until he actually saw it.
Yeah, you get a very different Freddy in this movie, guys.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, because
Uh,
Robert Englund even had a reboot idea that I loved actually. Because he talked
mhm.
about how he's like, well, I'm not going to play Freddy anymore. I'm too old for it. But and I love this idea. I feel like I hate even saying it because I'm like, oh my God, someone will steal it. But it's fucking Robert Englund said it in like a big interview. So, but the idea he had is what if different actors played Freddy for different characters? Because the idea
Oh.
is if he's in your dreams, he would look different to other people. As you would have the
Hmm.
same description, the hat, the claws, the sweater,
Yeah.
but otherwise, like, and I'm like, that's kind of a neat idea, actually, of Freddy looking very different to each person
Yeah.
because they would have
Yeah.
no
I
idea
like that a
what he
lot.
really looked like. Yeah,
And it could be anyone because
yeah,
you can't trust your dreams after a while. Yeah, I like that idea a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. That was Robert
Fucking
England. Robert
genius.
England. Yeah, he was like, if anyone wants to use that, feel free because I think that's how they should do it. Because because guys, I'm too old to play Freddy now, but you know, that's because they asked him who he thinks should play Freddy next, and that was what he said.
Cool.
Yeah,
We love it. We love it. We
yeah,
love it. So we see
yeah. Clancy Brown's
whatchamacallit
setting
at
up
this
a
funeral.
crisis center at the school, but we don't really
Oh
know
my God.
beyond that what his job is.
Correct. So we learned that at the funeral she goes up to a bunch of photos of Dean and sees a picture of herself, which is the little girl in the little blue dress in one of these photos. But she didn't know Dean until high school, right?
Yeah,
And she goes up and she talks to Quentin saying, right before Dean died, he said, "You're not real," right, over and over and over again. Um, and then we learn that Dean's on medication.
yeah.
Um, and she says there's someone making him do it, but there was no one there. You have to believe me. And Nancy comes up and says, "I believe you." She's upset and she says that she's seen things. Jesse, who is at the other booth with Quentin, Chris's ex-boyfriend, says, you didn't see anything. Obviously, he's hiding something. I feel like if you're going through this huge crisis and you're all having a shared dream, it's probably
Hmm.
good to all be on the same page and not like
Yeah.
discourage other people who are going through the same experience to stop feeling what they're feeling.
Well, that's the thing. Like the way you said it in the wrong order because the way you said it actually makes Jesse sound better than because Jesse from
Yeah.
the very moment that he starts talking to her at the funeral, starts telling her, you didn't see this, you're fucking crazy. He didn't see anything, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And to the point where, like, if this were a Scream movie, you'd know he's the guy who did it.
Right. Right. You're absolutely right. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, you're obviously doing the same thing. The same thing's fucking happening to you. You got to figure
Yeah.
that out. But Nancy's seen some shit.
Hmm.
Tells them to leave Chris alone, and then we have Connie Britton comes up, and Nancy says, "You have no idea what I've seen." So then we cut to Nancy is in bed listening to music, um, and then we have this reverse shot of water going back. Oh, the no,
The
so
water
no, so the
starts
walls
dripping
start moving.
upwards.
Yes, yes,
The
it
water
starts
drips
dripping
upwards. Yeah.
upwards. Reverse shot, yes. That makes sense, Chelsea. Um,
They
and the
probably,
walls
knowing
start
that,
moving.
I was going to say this movie, they probably wouldn't have done a reverse shot. They probably would have used their very ample CG budget, which I'm going to complain about in like literally 1 second.
Okay, yes. Yes, this is terrible.
Yeah, this looks like shit.
Him
This
coming
is
through the
a,
wall is so bad.
it's literally one of my favorite shots in the original because it's practical and it's
Hmm.
fucking so creepy. And here it just looks like it. I can't even say a video game because video games wouldn't do something that looks this fucking cheesy and awful.
Yeah, so the CG that they use to have him coming through the wall above her bed and like around her is something that like even child Chelsea who is afraid of everything would not be afraid of.
Yeah,
Um,
because here's the big problem is that like Freddy, like they made him like twist and he turns and he goes to her side, and I'm like, but that's not how a wall would work.
Yeah.
You break the illusion and you basically make it okay. We just know we're looking at CG. I know, I assume that they were probably thinking, well, it's so much cooler if he's able to go around her and move than if he's just stretching. No, it's not.
Yeah,
Because,
it's one of
like,
those cases of less is more.
yeah, you lose the gravity, you lose like the
Yeah.
realism of it. They lost just so much. So there's a whole
It's
bunch of
really
scenes
a
in this that,
shame.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a shame too, because you think about like how much money that must have cost and
Hmm.
how like disappointing it is to actually like I imagine for cast and stuff too, seeing that being like, oh, like I feel bad for this, but when I saw it, I laughed
Hmm.
because the original is so good
Yeah.
and how they do it.
Yeah,
Really,
it's
and then
such a bad version of the shot. And it
and it kind of
was,
sets the tone for how shit's gonna go down for the rest of the movie too.
yeah.
So I immediately went, oh fuck, I'm not gonna like this.
Yeah, because I realize every single scene that they did an homage to from the original doesn't work.
Correct.
Every single
Correct.
one they tried to
Absolutely.
recreate does not work as well as the original.
Yep.
The stuff, I mean, there's some stuff in this that I really enjoy,
Yeah, me too.
but anytime they try to like basically let's recreate this part in the original, but we're gonna do it better. No, you're not. You're not doing it better at all.
No, no. I feel like a lot of it was just a huge waste of money. I don't know what the reviews were like on this movie, but there are
Very
so
low
many.
reviews. Very
Yeah,
low reviews.
the
It did a ton of money. It did a ton of money. It actually, I think it's like in the top 10 horror films of all time as far as box office goes. But
doesn't mean people liked it.
yeah, well, that's the thing is it dropped 72% in its second week, and then another 54% in its third, and was out of the top 10 in 4 weeks.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's sad. And again,
So
like this happens. You never really know. You
yeah.
never really know when you put something out there what it's going to be received like. But it seems like a fairly obvious thing. Like once they were in post and realized that something wasn't going to work, maybe they should have fixed everything. And we have to remember too that when they were like filming this or in post or were in post with this, it's like 2009 when CG was like the new huge big thing.
Hmm.
So they were probably overusing it because it was like hot off the press. Like,
Yeah,
check
because
out what we can do with technology.
this definitely overuses CG so much.
Mm-hmm.
Even Freddy was
Mm-hmm.
CG for the most part.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That makes me sad.
yeah.
So there are several
So
things that make Charles and I sad about this movie. In case
so
you couldn't
so
tell.
here's the thing. Chris notices that there are a lot of pictures missing in her scrapbook, which is a thing I figured she would have noticed years earlier, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah. In
um,
her photo album of like pics of her when she was a kid.
yeah. So her mom
Yeah.
says the pictures are probably in the garage, and
Or in the attic above the garage. Yeah.
yeah, we'll get into that because I'm like that. Who the fuck
Yeah.
is an attic above their garage? But um, so that almost feels like someone's like, garages are creepy and attics are creepy. What if we made an attic above the garage? That would be so much creepier. Like
Double the creepy.
even though no house in existence has ever actually had that. But
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So she points out that she and Dean knew each other when they were 5, and her mom is like, "Who can remember being 5?" You
No
know,
one can.
yeah. So
You miss
dinner's
the
almost ready.
nuances too of these. You miss the nuances of even like the parents and stuff in this version too.
Yeah,
You got like in the original, you got one mom who's an alcoholic, and the dad's a sheriff, like he's a fucking
yeah.
prick. Like there's no backstory like other than what they do to Freddy Krueger to
We
any of
are
these characters.
teenagers. Yeah, we are teenagers. One of us is very shy, and Nancy in this almost
Oh,
seems
I'm
like
talking
they
about the parents too. I'm
no,
talking
but
about when you had nuances to the parents too.
yeah, but I mean
It's all gone.
but I'm not even yeah, I'm not even just talking. I think every character is kind of lacking in like who they actually are.
Yeah. And being like a three-dimensional person that you
Yeah,
believe and care about.
yeah. Like
Of
I'll
course, you
even
don't ever
say
want what happens to these kids. You don't want like anything to happen to children like that ever. But there's
no,
no nuance to these
but I
characters
mean
when they're
I mean, the
Go
fact that
ahead.
you and I don't even know what Clancy Brown's job is, and that we wouldn't have even known his character's name if not looking for the credits, you
Yeah.
know, like that's a
I
problem.
don't know his character's name.
Yeah.
I still don't know it.
I have it written, I literally have it in my notes, and that's the only way I know his name. So
Yeah.
also, can I just say this movie really, really loves establishing shots of people's houses like way too much. Like to the
Yeah.
point
And
where
what's up with that?
the point where I start noticing it,
I kept
like
thinking about, I was like, I had this moment of like, where are the jack-o'-lanterns? Like thinking about Halloween.
hmm. Well, like
Like,
here's
because that's the only other time that it really counts for anything.
yeah, well, like here's the thing, like so when they're having the when Chris and her mom are having this conversation, it's nighttime already.
Yeah.
So then we get a nighttime establishing shot of their house. And it's like, but we already saw that it's night. We don't need another shot outside their house does not mean time passed. It just means that it's their house.
Yeah, I have to think that someone just finished their house and was really proud of it. And they were like, we'll use it for the exteriors, but show it a
But
million times.
but that's the thing. Every house has at least like 5 or 6 like fucking exterior shots for
Hmm.
no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like scene changes in a play,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work that way.
And it's like, guys, we would know time passed if you just fast forwarded to her going in the garage after being told dinner is ready.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, so she goes into this
100%.
this attic in her garage, which once again I have no idea why. Also,
I know people who have apartments above their garage, but not
yeah,
like you pull down a string and bring down stairs type
yeah,
of thing. Yeah.
yeah. Also, if her mother is so determined to get rid of these sort of things, why wouldn't they? That's something that I kept thinking throughout several points of this movie. Why don't these people
Hmm.
burn these things or throw them away if they don't want them to be seen?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm like, yeah, you're just holding on to your own trauma of what happened to your child and what you did, you know?
Yeah,
Get rid of it. At least put it in storage somewhere off site.
yeah. So
And
she
it
goes
also
up.
doesn't make sense that like any of this at any point could have been because I'm sure that like it's unrealistic that this man just like disappeared, right? Someone at
Mhm.
some point would have gone to some sort of authority figure and they would have interrogated and asked all these people about it, even if it was years later. People crack. So,
Which
and all of
is
that shit would have been confiscated for evidence.
which is honestly another reason why it makes so much more sense that Nancy's father in the original was a cop, where they could
Yeah.
cover that up rather than whatever the ambiguous job Quentin's
I'm
father
like, he
has in
could be
this
a
one.
he's a guidance counselor or a principal. Like that's,
Yeah,
but they're very different. They're very different. I don't
he's
know. I don't know.
he's an adult. He works at a job. That's all you need to know.
That's all you need
So
to know.
so she sees that she sees the blue dress with the tears on it and the lights go out and
Hmm.
she sees Freddy on top of her and he says, "Remember me," and she wakes up. And now we're at Springwood
And her
High
mom's
School.
there. Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
Springwood High School. Nancy's at her locker and go, Chelsea.
Yeah. So, and Quentin's there, and she has this weird fucking sketch that looks like scary as fuck, and she hides it as Quentin approaches her. Oh, I wrote principal is Quentin's dad. Maybe they. I was probably just assuming that. So then
Yeah.
we cut to a classroom and they're talking about Pericles. So they're still doing the homage to Shakespeare, but I think they were talking about the historical Pericles as opposed to the play. And they're talking about the story of Pericles and this and blah, 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 and Athens to Sparta, not thinking about the boat trip and how the plague would strike because that's kind of the plague of Freddy, which I thought was kind of clever. I wrote interesting that they chose that one to talk about. She's going through her textbook and she flips to a page and there's like a photo of Freddy there and the knife and it's all bloody on the other side, which is terrifying. And she looks around and everyone else is in slow motion, which I kind of didn't hate this.
Hmm.
But what ruined it for me was the girl in the front row with the bubble gum. Um, she says, wake up to herself, and everything goes to ashes in this classroom.
Yeah.
And Freddy's there, and he says, you shouldn't fall asleep in class. Freddy just would it. I don't know what
You
I
look
wrote there.
just as beautiful as ever.
Oh, yes,
You have
yes.
nothing to worry about. This won't hurt one little bit. I
And she cries
promise.
and
And
screams,
yeah.
and she wakes up in class, and um pulls up out of the chair. God, what the fuck was I writing?
I don't know. But there's a lock of her hair now in her textbook, which I didn't like.
Oh yes, hair, not chair, Chelsea. Yes, there's a lock of
Yeah.
her hair in the textbook. We're talking about Chris, by the way.
Yeah.
So they don't ask for a hall pass in this movie. And she doesn't just leave. They don't let children go home, which is what I was talking about in last week's episode, where like you can just leave school. Obviously, here you see where you can't just do that.
Yeah.
So she doesn't run out until the bell hits and Jesse's calling after her. So now she's driving home on this beautiful tree-lined street, which is Elm Street. Uh, so we have Rufus, who is their adorable border collie, who's outside. And she's obviously concerned about that because that doesn't make any sense. And now we're back. And so she brings him in, and we're back in the garage. And then we learn that mom's a flight attendant. She has to go to London on a red eye, and so she's leaving the girl alone. We see her
Another establishing
Chris
shot.
setting up the alarm.
We see another establishing shot. Yeah.
And also the houses all look so similar that it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
So she sets up the security alarm, and she's looking at Dean's obituary, and then Jesse's at her window. And this is when we figure out that he's the one who must be the ex-boyfriend. So he comes in, and also if mom's not there, just come to the door.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure he would know that.
Yeah. So here's where Jesse just becomes a completely different character.
Yeah, that's true. He apologizes, saying that he knows he was an asshole and he fucked up. Dean was my friend too. And she's talking and asks her what's going on. I'm having dreams. I'm scared. And then and Dean was having them too. And she says, every time I dream, I always see this man, and he's burned and melted, and he's always trying to attack me with knives on his fingers. And then with knives on his fingers is when Jesse interrupts and says, attack me with knives on his fingers.
Yeah.
So they figure out they're having the same dream. It's just a dream. No, it's not possible. It is possible. And she says all she wants to do is fall asleep, but he's gonna kill me like Dean. And what is this? I didn't write it down exactly, but stop talking about it because you're talking about it, you're dreaming about it, and if you're dreaming about it, then it'll happen. Like kind of like they're manifesting him, and she asks him to stay with her.
Yeah.
And then the next shot, they're asleep, which is obviously like
which
stupid.
Also follows another establishing shot, by the way. Yet another shot outside.
I didn't even
the
write
house.
those down. I just was like, this is dumb. Like,
yeah. So, and then Rufus is barking, and then Rufus, Jesse's asleep, and Rufus doesn't respond to her calls. She goes outside. She just has a giant fucking palatial backyard. Like these are upper middle class kids. Like that's a giant fucking backyard. And then she sees Rufus, something bad had happened to him. And Freddy's like, I was just petting him. And so
I'm really happy that with dog deaths and stuff, I'm really happy that like it wasn't that gory. Like that dog obviously was taking a nap, and they're like, we're just gonna put blood on you, honey, you'll be fine. You're a good boy.
Yeah, I still texted you
to let
brutal.
Yeah, I still texted you to let you know.
Text me.
Yeah. So
I appreciate that. He does that all the time.
She runs from Freddy, finds herself in a preschool, and
as it happens.
Where I guess this is where they they kind of learned everything is creepy if you just put a green filter over it. So they we hear the jump rope song as a little girl leads her to the preschool. Freddy's counting and says, ready or not, here I come. And then she wakes up and Jesse's sleeping. She washes her face, she lays down, and Freddy's next to her and he yells, found you. And
I feel like Freddy talks too much in this movie too, by the way.
Which is funny.
Like, it's not even like what he says, but it's how much he says.
Well, it's funny because they made a conscious effort to take away the wisecracking that he does in the later films. but
Yeah.
they just kind of have him still talking a lot. He's
Yeah,
just
he's
not
talking about
witty
he's crude as a
anymore.
motherfucker. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's not funny. And like funny people are scary. That's why everyone fears us.
yeah, but here
Yes.
he's just kind of like, well, yeah, he's just kind of a gross dude.
He's just a fucking creepy ass rapey motherfucker.
Yeah. And so she
Oh,
gets
another
lifted up.
big thing I wanted to talk about too. Another thing I wanted to mention too is that like generally, unless like apparently Freddy's one of these people who has an attachment just to like a person, but generally, if you're a pedophile and like a child rapist, you're not going to be attracted to those people when they're teenagers.
Yeah,
Something to think about.
yeah, yeah,
Like you just find another 5-year-old. We
you
hate
know,
that all of this is happening, but I'm like, this doesn't make sense
yeah,
in
you
general.
know,
Continue.
yeah, I mean, honestly, if I was writing it because I have a horrible, horrible mind, I would have her turn back into being 5 or something in the scene or
Yeah,
something
of
like
course.
that. But
Of course.
anyway,
Yeah.
she gets lifted up, and Freddy. And this is once again, it's nowhere near as good as the original when the girl's in the ceiling and stuff.
Oh, no, no, it's not.
She's up, she just kind of gets ragdolled back and forth, and it's more funny than anything.
I know it was kind of funny. It's like if you're gonna make a funny movie, like or something that knows that it's funny, like play into that. It's like they didn't know,
You know.
and that makes me sad. That
So
makes me sad.
Jesse runs, um, and
Immediately gets caught.
yeah, well he not yet
Immediately.
because he goes into Nancy's place.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot
Yeah,
about that. Yeah. So we see Nancy painting, and Jesse's covered in blood at her
hmm
house. Yes. Um,
and it's
and we
very
talk about
loud.
he's the one who's trying. Yeah, he's so loud.
He's so loud her mom
Um,
should hear him immediately.
yeah, like there's an intruder, you'd think.
Yeah,
Um, talking about like he's the one who's trying to kill us in our dreams. The 1-2 song is in her head, like the Freddy song. That's his name. He's in all of our heads. We got to stop this. I don't know. I don't know how. Just don't fall asleep. And then we have the cops come, and the cops come and they like catch him absolutely immediately. I loved her, man. I couldn't kill her.
yeah.
And
Which
then we
I'll
have, I thought it was a cute shot of Rooney and Connie outside holding each other. And he's screaming, Nancy, you know who did it.
well the thing that I kept thinking of once again is like everyone's fucking lawn here is the size of a goddamn half a football field. Like it's
This is Elm
ridiculous.
Street, Charles. Don't you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Everyone wants to live on Elm Street.
this is Elm Street as like fucking via like fucking, Calabasas or I mean Woodland Hills or some super ritzy
Yeah.
fucking LA neighborhood, even though they shot this in
Yes.
Illinois.
They
But
shot it in Illinois.
yeah, even though it takes place in Ohio, but let's be honest. And I know people in Illinois might get upset and people in Ohio might get upset, but no one can tell the difference. Anyway.
No, no one can tell the difference. And we love both, and we love making film in both states. Yes.
Anyway,
I didn't know how big
so
of a horror scene's in Ohio. Now I know. I'm
yeah.
finding out.
Well,
Everyone like shoots. People love
there's
Ohio for
there's a
film.
lot of very cool people in Ohio, and there's a lot of cool things to shoot there. The state
Yes.
itself actually sucks, but
Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna, that's the thing I'll say is there's no reason to visit Ohio unless you're shooting. If you're shooting, there's so much cool stuff you can do and so many cool people you can work with. But
Yes. Shoot in Ohio, tax incentives. Yay.
yeah, but why do you ever want to visit there?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you can go see what is it like the Yarn Museum or something. I don't know. So anyway,
Let's go.
Jesse goes to jail. There's a very weird edit here.
Yes, this I wrote it down too.
Also, before I get to the weird edit, I almost forgot. The cops say, copy that, we've got a homicide. Cops would never say that. They would say the fucking code.
Yeah.
It would be like, we have a 187 or we have blah, 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 blah. It wouldn't be like, we got a homicide here, guys.
We got a homicide. It's almost as bad as like what's her butt's fucking arm sticking out of the gurney like last
Yeah.
last
Yeah. So here we go. So yeah, so Jesse goes to jail. His cellmate immediately jumps off the bed and gets right in his face. And then the next cut,
Yeah, I
none of
wrote
that
about
is
this too. Go ahead.
happening.
Yeah. Yep.
None of that is happening. Jesse is just looking out the fucking like window of his cell.
They could have just cut that scene 3 seconds earlier.
Yes. There is literally no reason to have to not cut before the cellmate gets off the bed.
It was that like that took me right out of the movie.
Yeah.
It did. It fucked me up real bad. I was like, oh no. Oh no. Did they really just do that? Oh, they just did that. No.
Yeah.
It made me sad.
So Nancy's on the
It made me
phone.
sad. So yeah, basically there's a giant jump cut that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And
So
the
she
roommate
goes-
is terrible. The
Yeah,
cellmate. Yes.
she goes to call Quentin and she tells him about Chris as Jesse tries not to fall asleep. And Jesse's cellmate tells him to be quiet. We go to Powell's bookstore where Quentin's looking up sleep deprivation and computer enters sleep mode.
Insomnia is the risk of
Yeah.
insanity. Yeah.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
As Quentin enters sleep mode. I do like the computer entering sleep mode as Quentin enters sleep mode.
I didn't even catch that. That's funny.
Yeah. And he sees the little girl in the bookstore aisle. She disappears. Freddy's looking at stuff.
The bookshelf starts shaking.
Yeah, and then they make him turn around for the fast, ineffective jump cut that was like, I guess that's supposed to be scary, but it isn't.
I feel like it was so much of this movie is quintessential of like, again, the new age of technology in film, and they exacerbated and overused all of these things. Like
it's a lot of the stuff that I hated in like the original Saw that like they got from like Marilyn Manson videos and stuff, and and like someone got the idea that that's like really creepy, like I mean, hey, like like with the Nameless, we did some fast motion stuff, but it was very sparse and it was never meant for that. You know what I mean? Like that's not the scare.
Yeah.
It's a if you mix it with the actual scare, then that's creepy.
Yep.
But Freddy just, look, I'm fast. That doesn't really do anything. If it had been Freddy,
look, I'm fast.
Yeah, if it had been like, say, she's trying to get away from him, he's fast, and then he does something. That's different. But just look, he's fast. That just looks like a weird, I saw too many fucking Fioria Sigamunde videos when I was in like film school.
Great influence.
I love her stuff, but
yes.
Unfortunately, too many people are influenced by it in the worst fucking way.
Yeah, agreed. I'm like, you're just like you're setting yourself up for failure if you just try and emulate anyone.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You can take little pieces of people that you really, really like and shit that they've done that you really admire and pay homages and learn from it, but don't just be you is ultimately the story. Otherwise, you're not gonna fucking succeed in this industry at all.
Yeah. So Jesse's cell opens, and he's told that his folks posted his bail. Like this, I like him coming out and thinking, "Hey, this is weird." And when he turns around, the brick walls behind him, like that's nice. I enjoy that. You don't need fancy. You don't need fancy fucking like CGI to do that sort of stuff, And now he's in the boiler room.
Yes.
And
there are a bunch of kids down there in a room like covering their faces. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he can hear Chris calling for him, and then Freddy's behind him.
Yeah.
He's running around hiding from Freddy, and then he runs into his like mangled hanging bodies of his dead friends. Yes.
Oh God. No, just me.
Just me.
You think you could turn back time? You think you
bring
can
the
dead back to
life?
I didn't fucking think so. Why are you screaming? I haven't even cut you yet.
Yeah, so he laughs and then he leaves. So like a big difference in the Freddys now too is that Freddy taunts people.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
like he taunts him even in the
later
dream
Freddy
world.
does that in the original, but he's at least witty when he does it.
Fuck.
Like
That's so graphic.
there's a scene in one of them where it's actually a girl in a mental hospital who dreams of becoming an actress. And
Oh,
they have a thing where she's on a talk show. I think they actually got like Dick Cavett and like Zsa Zsa Gabor to play themselves in the scene.
wow.
And she's like watching it, and I think like, you know, something happens and the interview starts going weird, and then Dick Cavett turns into fucking Freddy Kreuger and slashes Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Wait, I need to see this.
This is in
That's
part three,
amazing.
which is the best one. And then the fucking Freddy fucking reaches through the TV and grabs the girl and smashes her face into the screen to kill her and yells, "Welcome to primetime, bitch."
That's great.
But you know, like that's the thing is,
Welcome to
yeah, he would,
Prime Time, bitch.
yeah, you know, like that's the thing. Like I would rather Freddy be wisecracking if he's going to talk this much.
Yeah.
Like you know, if Freddy's just like kind of a creepy, weird guy, then that's not, then have him talk a lot less.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
there's a few lines that I love that he has, but they're very far between.
Here in this one?
Yeah, in this one, there's a couple lines I like. I love him saying you're not supposed to fall asleep in class. I actually really enjoy him saying that. Um, you know,
The big issue with that though is why did the teacher notice that she was asleep in class?
mm,
Like I always got caught. I used to be really good at it too.
really?
This is how I fell asleep in class, and I'm a lefty, so I could get away with it, you know, because they would give me like a lefty desk, and
Mhm,
like they forget that you're a lefty after like so long. So I
mhm,
would go like this. I would put my right arm down on the desk and have my pen just propped up because how you use as a lefty, how you like hold a pencil is
mhm.
generally different than how you do it as a righty. So it can just sit there and not move at all. And it looks like you're doing something. So I got away with it like 50% of the time. But I feel
Yeah.
like that's even a rarity.
Mm.
Come on,
So
teachers.
I know I got away
Don't
with it a
give a
lot.
boring class.
I got away with it a lot.
You want?
I got away with
Yeah.
it a lot. Yeah. But so at this point, you know, Freddy's claw comes through his back. And in the cell, the cellmate's screaming, "I didn't do it, I'm innocent." And then we have Jesse dying in his dream, and Freddy's like, "Did you know after the heart stops beating, the brain keeps functioning for well over 7 minutes? We have 6 more minutes to play."
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to like. I mean, I wasn't impressed with the performance of this cellmate at all whatsoever. No
Yeah.
disrespect, but the I would have loved to have seen what mental institution this cellmate had to be locked into after this because he literally just had his entire chest ripped out. And doesn't the newspaper says something like he died in his sleep. I'm like,
Hmm.
his entire chest cavity was ripped apart
In his sleep.
in his sleep.
Yes.
Yes.
So now
So
Quentin's giving Nancy Zonarol, which is speed for kids with ADD, but she
yeah,
says
is that
no
a
to
real medicine
drugs.
or did they just like change it?
I don't know. I don't take any medication for my own
I
fucking
know I've never heard
issues.
of
Yeah.
Zonarol. I don't either.
Yeah.
But
And
yes, so so Nancy went through the DARE program because she does not say yes to drugs.
yeah, she points out very quickly that you know, he's religious because he has like a necklace on that they show for 2 seconds, and I don't remember what it was.
I
Like,
didn't even catch it. I didn't even
yeah,
catch it. Yeah.
yeah, which
Then he's
becomes
talking about the
important later
Prince.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. And you even then you only see it for 2 seconds. You can't
They
even
don't
see what it is.
they don't show it again. When she
Weird.
puts it on, they don't do a close up of it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
strange. And then he's talking about he's reading in the library. Is he in the, we're in the library at this point, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, we
He's
already discussed the micro naps thing earlier, so like, yeah,
right. No, but he's talking
but
about
it's
the
what we
Piper
were,
of
yeah,
something.
yeah.
The Piper of
The
Hamden.
Pied
I might
Piper.
Yes.
You don't know
So
the story of the Pied Piper of Hamlet?
no, of course I do. Mine
Oh,
auto-corrected to Hamlet though, so I didn't
oh,
remember
okay.
which one they were talking about.
That was
So it's
Shakespeare.
just,
That was Shakespeare's side story he wrote.
it's true. Yes. Shakespeare invented everything, in case y'all didn't know.
Yeah.
Um,
So Nancy's mom calls for. Like I said, we already discussed this part. So let's, um,
oh yeah.
yeah. But which, as I said, I did like this. I did. This was an addition I enjoyed that they put into the film. So Nancy's mom calls for her, and Nancy's just sketching. Nancy's just sketching dark shit this whole fucking movie.
Yeah. Yeah. She's got some shit going on in her brain.
Yeah. So here's where she confronts her mom, and she's like, "Do I have some sort of connection with Chris and Dean and Jesse and Quentin? Like, did we all go to school together?" And her mom's like, "Not that I can
No, honey.
recall."
Have you ever heard of Freddy Kreuger? No. Doesn't ring a bell. I don't think so. Okay. So the mom
Yeah.
makes a call and says to someone that Nancy's starting to remember.
To Quentin's dad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to Quentin's dad. Okay.
Yeah.
The vice principal of the counseling session thing person.
Yes. So Nancy goes to bathe.
Yes.
So here's another
And we
problem.
get that
Number
shot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here's another problem. So Nancy's going to bathe. It seems like Nancy is purposely going to the bathtub to go to sleep because she sets an alarm.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah. She
I'm
said
like,
don't fall asleep in the tub.
yeah, I'm like, this is still what, fucking 26 years after the first film. It still hasn't changed. You can fucking die if you go to bed in fucking bathtub. So stop doing it.
Oh, you don't have automatic flotation devices that come out of your skin, Charles? What are you
Yeah.
thinking about? They came out in 2009, Charles.
Yeah. So
Yes,
Freddy's
it's
glove does
bad.
the little thing between her legs, but then she wakes up and then the scene ends. She doesn't even get dragged in.
No, which is like one of my favorite things in the original for sure.
Yeah. And
The
now
giant pool
it's
underneath the
yeah,
bathtub.
exactly. And I know it's snowing in her room and she's okay with walking barefoot in it.
Yeah, makes sense. Totally makes sense. It's snowing in your room. Um, what the fuck happened next?
And
Oh
now she's
shit.
at the preschool. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to find my spot in my notes.
You're my number one, my little Nancy. And he licks the side of her
We're already
face.
there? Jesus Christ.
Yep. I set an
Continue and I'll
alarm.
find it.
Yes, you did in your dream. You smell different. An alarm wakes her up and that's what I said. Did she purposely go to the bathtub to fucking sleep? That's dumb. So
Yeah, don't
uh
do that. Don't do
yeah,
that. I've
yeah,
been drunk and fallen asleep in an empty bathtub.
yeah.
But
So
even that's not safe.
yeah, so
So
Quentin,
when she wakes, and so now she's dreaming. I don't like that he's holding her hand.
yeah.
That Freddie is holding Nancy's hand. That bothered me.
Well, it's because they wanted to put in the weird, unnecessary subplot where did Freddy even do it? Which,
Totally unnecessary.
yeah, not only is it totally unnecessary, it's like, well, he's murdering all your friends. Do you think that if he
Yeah.
didn't do it, that he would be murdering all these teenagers?
Yeah. Yeah. Like you don't, are you trying to get vengeance on? So basically, for everyone who hasn't seen it, there's a subplot where it's like, is he trying to get vengeance against the people who are the parents of these teenagers by killing their teenagers?
Hmm.
And they just were 5 and lied about it,
Yeah.
or the reality is he's just a fucking child molester and rapist and is trying to like finish the job in a way from the afterlife.
Yeah, they
And
spent like a good 15
no
minutes.
reason.
Yeah. They spent like
There's no
15 minutes on
reason.
this subplot that is pointless.
It is pointless. The movie could have been 10 minutes shorter. I'm like, I thought
Yeah.
about it. I was like, did they add this subplot afterwards? Did they go back and do reshoots? Like, I
From what
don't
I
know. That's crazy.
from what I read, like that was actually something they cut down.
Really?
Yeah.
They cut
Which
down
is
what?
meaning that the subplot went on longer. So I assume
Oh
that means
shit.
maybe it went through the whole movie or something, but still that's fucking pointless.
Yeah. No, entirely.
It's
Entirely. It
really,
didn't make any
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. Um, So you're
So
my little Nancy. So you like set an alarm. Yes, you did in your dream, but you're in your dream. He holds her hand. You smell different, and then when she's in the tub again, and her
yeah,
phone rings because Quentin calls.
yeah,
He tells her that Jesse's dead. He died in his sleep.
yeah,
I saw Freddy. When Quentin writes a note to his dad that he went to Nancy's, and they're just doing everything to try and keep themselves awake. So he's drinking a Red Bull, and then we learn that the preschool is named as Badham. Well, Badham, and it closed years ago, and
yeah,
they can't find any pictures of it online. So that means that, like, yes, these people are so upper middle class that they have the authority to hire lawyers who will go to Google, because Google existed then, to go to Google and have them remove any history of this preschool existing. It also
yeah,
doesn't make sense too, because it implies that these teenagers have never left their town or been to the outskirts of their town and have never driven past this place, which
yeah,
does not make any sense whatsoever. So
yeah.
she drew a photo, or she drew a picture of the preschool after one of her dreams, right? And she'd never seen it before. And how is he connected to the school? And she immediately knows that her mother's hiding something, she says.
Yeah.
And then I wrote down that we don't have a funeral for the dead people
Yeah. Well,
again.
we do find a very convenient hidden envelope filled with exactly what they were looking for, which was
Yeah.
preschool picture of all of them together, which once again, why would they not have just burned this if the mothers
And
didn't
Connie
want
Britton's like,
them?
what the fuck?
Yeah. And her mother demands to know what she's doing, and her mom demands the picture. It's like, why
You
would you
keep it
lie
in
to
your
me?
desk. Not a great
Yeah.
idea.
Why would you lie to you? I'm not lying to you. I didn't want you to go through
It's
your life with
also
this memory.
unrealistic too.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is bad parenting, but also like thinking about like, and I wasn't like you is not what I mean when I say that. But even me as like the goody goody two shoes, like teenager, I even would have gone through my parents' shit before that,
Yeah.
when they weren't home, just out of curiosity on what they were hiding. This is the first time you went through your mom's desk. Bullshit.
In
You would
fairness,
have found that.
I actually never went through my grandmother's stuff.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah. I don't know. It's always been like a thing with me. Like I hate people going through my stuff, so I don't go
Right.
into other people's things. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So her mom gives the whole story about Freddy Kreuger was a gardener and he lived in a basement of the preschool.
I
And
used to think in elementary school that my teachers lived in the basement and there was a pool down there. I used to
yeah,
think that.
wow.
Yeah,
Freddy doesn't have a
I'm
pool,
special.
but he does have a cave. But
Yes.
you know,
It's
and
a special place.
so here's the thing. Like he's very openly like playing with the kids and they're dancing around him and uh that would bring up red flags immediately.
Hmm.
Like this man who just
So like
works at
the
the
principal of the preschool.
yeah, like he's not a man who actually he's not an educator. He's just a man who works there.
See, I was super tight with my janitor Dennis in elementary
Really?
school. I was
Really?
he used to give me Snapple caps, but he never tried to fucking finger me as a child.
Yeah. I like yeah, like I didn't know I barely knew the names of our janitors at my elementary and pre schools.
I loved Dennis. Well, I feel
Yeah.
like New York City kids just grow up different too, not in a bad
Yeah.
way. They're the smartest kids on the
Yeah.
fucking planet. The the yeah, no, Dennis was amazing. We loved Dennis, but he was not rapey like Freddie was.
Yeah. So we
And
start seeing
the gardener's name was Doug. The
yeah.
gardener's name was Doug.
Yeah. So Nancy was his favorite, and we start seeing scratches on her back and kids saying he takes us to his secret cave. And he left town before, which once again, this is another problem where him leaving town and him going to another place where they burn him doesn't work as well as burning him in the place where shit happens.
It
Because
also doesn't make any sense that it could continue.
I was going to say you're going to tell me that two teenagers were able to immediately find this secret cave, and the
That's what I was
police
gonna say,
never
yeah.
did. The police
Yeah,
never
that was a
did. There
huge
was no
problem with this
yeah.
movie. Did you ever
Yeah.
later on they say to Clancy Brown, "Did you ever find this cave?" No, we didn't. It was literally a piece of fucking like plywood that
Yeah.
Quentin brings like pulls apart. Yeah.
Yeah. That might as well have a big sign pointing to it because it has pictures on top of it that are like ominous looking pictures,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. I
So
don't know. Big plot holes, especially with like I don't know what was the budget on this movie.
I think it was like 35 million. I'm sorry, 53 million, I believe.
What?
Yeah.
God, that makes me so sad. They could have done so much.
Yep, 35 million.
Damn. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh
Oh, I
my
can.
God. Yes, I'm imagining it. It's gonna happen. But like,
Well,
what the fuck?
well, I'm
Do
sure
better
I'm also sure if we did it, we wouldn't spend probably fucking 14 million of that on the budget. I mean on the CG.
on this CG.
Yeah. You
What did
know,
you say in the original was the shit for the walls? It's like
it was
the
latex. It's stretchy
latex. Like,
latex.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna save way more money on latex, even though it's
Yeah.
expensive. Like, you're
Yeah.
gonna save way more money.
Yeah, it was expensive for us because we were doing a fucking 100K movie, you
Yeah.
know. But if you gave us fucking $35 million, I would fucking coat the whole goddamn town in latex and still have like you
Yeah, still
know.
have 14 million to spend on
Yes,
CG.
exactly. Exactly. You know.
Just
Like holy
embarrassing.
shit. So yeah, so they're going to go find the other kids in the picture. And so we go to swim class. So we're Quentin like falls asleep while swimming, which I didn't even think is possible.
Yeah, he falls asleep while swimming, and I'm like, no, that's called drowning. That's what that is. And also, I just thought it was funny that they chose for him to be on the swim team. And it also doesn't make any sense that he didn't die in the water.
Yeah. Yeah,
It doesn't make
I
any
didn't
sense.
I know micronaps, okay, that they happen. I don't think they happen while you're actually under actual water.
Yeah, no, that's called drowning.
Yeah. Yeah. So Nancy's in the computer room. See, this is a touch I liked. I liked that there were other students that stuff happened to that we didn't meet that had went to other schools. I like that.
Yes, I do too. And so she's
Yeah.
looking on the computer and finding out that these people died from like other things that she went to preschool with. Because on the back of the like school photo that she found on her mom's desk were the names of the students. So
Yeah.
she's Googling all these. We don't know if it's Google, but she's looking up all these different names. And one died in a car crash. One like died in their sleep. Like all this fucking shit. And they're the last ones. So this is like, Freddy's just like going around the county, like, this is the last high school I'll hit.
Hmm.
Little Nancy's there. Might as well save that best for last.
Although it does also now it changed, although all the kids leaving in town does make the title kind of weird now. Because literally the only one who lives on Elm Street is Chris. So
That's true. And like none of it really happens on Elm Street at all.
yeah, yeah. As
I didn't
opposed to
even
the
think
original,
about that. Wait, now what? Now I'm angry.
yeah, yeah, as opposed to the original where everyone, they all took place in this, fucking
They all lived on Elm Street. Yeah.
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 So, I mean, that's the thing. We went from the primary action. I mean, okay, maybe not all the characters did, but definitely Nancy and Glenn. So our two
Yeah.
primary protagonists live on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
in part two, the main character moves into Nancy's house. So,
Mm-hmm.
they kept up the Elm Street thing going. And this
Yeah. It doesn't make
one
any sense.
one character who dies about 20 minutes into the film is the only person on Elm Street, and we never see Elm Street referenced or
We never go back to Elm Street again.
yeah, yeah.
And like also like there's no shot of her like Chris's mom coming back from London or getting an alert or like being like your daughter's dead.
Hmm.
There's some serious issues here. Also, I'm gonna pee my pants very soon. Just a heads up.
Okay. Well, make sure you
Um,
stand up. Make sure you stand up so we can get those extra clicks. Uh,
yes, yes. Extra reviews. Yes.
but but yeah, let's see where we're at so I can see whether yeah, why don't we take a break right now?
Oh yeah,
And
I get
then
to pee. This is very exciting.
yeah, and then we'll finish up. So check
So
out
stay tuned.
the
We'll be
thing.
right back.
Yeah, we'll see you in a little bit. Bye.
You are Heather Lambert, right?
Yeah.
Did you know a Catalonia silver a number of years ago?
Okay.
I'm afraid that Catalonia passed away recently. In her will, she requested her remains be scattered by you and her parents.
You brought our baby back home to us. Tell me about my sister.
And why are you here? To take care of you. Where are you?
Joe, fuck this shit.
I'm the one who started it.
Okay. So anyway, we're back. And yeah, so while
We are back.
Quentin's drowning, he basically just sees Freddy getting hunted down by the parents.
Yeah, I like this sequence. I really like this sequence.
I hated it because number one, I hate the big thing is why does he have the fucking sweater under the boiler outfit? That except just look, that's where he wears his Freddy
Oh, well, I
thing.
hated that.
Yeah.
I hated that. Yeah, but so we get this whole like flashback of like Freddy and Quentin is there in his little skivvy swimsuit thing, and he's watching Freddy run and being chased by all of the parents from the preschool.
Yeah.
Into some random abandoned building.
Yeah, which they burned down. Connie Britton doesn't want him to do it, but it happens anyway. So,
but it happens anyway.
Yeah,
he burns alive.
So at this point, Nancy finds out that one of the other students, Marcus Yen, is still alive, and he on his vlog was dreaming about Freddy,
Mm-hmm.
and he talks about going to preschool in his dreams. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he wants him to go to the basement, like he needs me to find something. I'm dreaming with my eyes open. I haven't slept in 3 days because if you sleep, you dream, and if I dream, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else? Can someone help me? And we cut to Nancy, and she's crying watching this.
Yeah.
And then we hear, what is it at the end of the video that happens?
The final video, Marcus falls asleep, and then he bashes his head into the camera, and then it cuts to static, which isn't how those work. But also,
I wouldn't have uploaded
it. Yeah. Because they asked you to confirm these things.
And also it would have been taken down. It would have been taken down from the police or something like that.
Yeah. So Quentin runs. I found it hilarious with Quentin running into his dad's office and yelling, "You killed Freddy Kreuger!" And
well, I mean, like in this thing that he said, I mean, of course he comes off fucking insane. But but you know, imagine like actually going and being in the flashback and seeing your father be the one who threw the fucking gasoline in order to kill Freddy Kreuger. Like he's got to be traumatized as fuck.
I don't believe it. If your dad is Clancy Brown, you expect that sort of shit. So, you know,
amen.
So as far as everyone around here is concerned, Fred Kreuger never existed. So at this point, Nancy hears Chris's voice. We see the body bag repeat, but it really doesn't work. Ooh,
no, it doesn't work. They lift up her legs and have it dragged. It's terrible.
This is awful. And like the mouth, it just looks dumb.
It is very dumb. Yeah. They fucked up. I mean, like it was, I feel like it was the actress's best attempt to look scary.
So They stop at a CVS, kiddo. No, actually, they don't. They stop at Hawthorne Health
Thank you.
Pharmacy.
I should call my dad. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
So Quentin waits on the line while Nancy dreams that Freddy opens the door and throws her out. Quentin is basically just acting like a junkie here, trying to get the doctor to refill his
Yeah, no,
prescription.
you don't fucking, he looks and he's acting like a junkie. Like you don't,
Yeah.
a pharmacist will not say yes. They can lose their job if they say yes. This kid obviously just doesn't get it. Like, so he's
Yeah.
not going to say yes.
Yeah. So Nancy's burning herself with a cigarette lighter to stay awake, and
As you
Nancy.
do.
So here's the other thing. Nancy seems to realize that I do like the usage of that dream song that all I have to do is dream. Yeah. I like that. I like the use of that.
I do too.
So she enters the pharmacy, and well, as soon as she realizes what song it is, Freddy shows up, and the pharmacy turns out to be the boiler room, which is exactly what happens when you go to a different pharmacy than CVS, kiddo. So, Nancy,
Dad, I love you.
Yeah.
My dad will never watch this.
Nancy pulls a piece of Freddy's sweater off. So when he's going after her and shit's falling off the, I didn't like that, because it makes sense for the physical things Freddy does to them to manifest in the real world. Freddy should not be able to knock shit off the fucking aisle at this pharmacy. Yeah. Oh my god!
Yeah,
like,
see,
that
I liked how it went.
Sense.
I did like how it like flickered back and forth from the boiler room to the aisle, but it didn't make any sense for him to be able to fuck up shit.
Mm-hmm.
They gotta just figure it out. Yeah, you blow those snots. Yeah.
So no, yeah, I'm sure
it's
there's
booger time.
Someone getting off on that. So Nancy's bleeding really bad, and they go to the hospital. And meanwhile, Quentin's stealing medication because I guess he's just
stealing
a giant
adrenaline off a nurse's car. Also, nurses don't like, this is not like a fucking hotel, like with the maids just having shampoo bottles. Like, nurses' carts don't have just adrenaline hanging out in the open. It doesn't make any sense.
What hotels do you go on? The fucking, they have adrenaline on the cart. It's the hotel.
All of them, every single one.
So
every single one. So and then you know, she said her mom's with her in the hospital. She said, "Who did this? Mom, you know who did this."
Yeah.
Is what Nancy says to her mother. Yeah.
So
she needs sedation.
Yeah. The doctor, who apparently is a nurse, because I looked and there is no doctor listed in the credits, which I find insulting that the woman would not be a doctor, wants to sedate Nancy.
Yes, how dare you? How dare you?
Her mom signs the thing, and now Nancy's on the loose. Quentin has adrenaline, and I do like that Nancy explains he can't just take things without knowing what they'll do to. By the way, the fact that him shooting himself up with the adrenaline actually does nothing because he's still fucking passing out.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, so as someone, it's not adrenaline. I've never had adrenaline pumped into my system, but I remember when I was little, because I have like a severe seafood and shellfish allergy. I remember once accidentally like going in my school backpack and injecting myself with my EpiPen in my thumb, and I thought I was gonna die for like 10 minutes. And like my thumb like swelled, like ballooned a little bit on the top, and I was like, holy fucking shit, you know, I'm like 10 years old at the time. But then after that, it was just, my mom was like, just breathe, just calm down, and then I was totally fine. So it would only last, but I don't know the equivalent of like, or how much adrenaline or epinephrine has adrenaline in it, but I don't actually know any of this. But I can't imagine that it would last very long. However, it would have had more of a severe effect on Quentin than we saw.
Yeah. So they have a whole lot of dialogue that I don't care to talk about. That basically he just asks her out for a date. And then they see Freddy in front of them and they swerve out of the way, which I don't understand why you wouldn't aim for him. But Also, if Freddy is trying to prove, if Freddy has convinced you to prove his innocence, why is he still trying to kill you?
Yeah,
you
that doesn't
know?
make any sense either.
Yeah. So, like the bunch of vandals they are, they go and they start breaking windows, and getting into the preschool, which is weird that I know all the locations of the stuff, in the preschool from Dead by Daylight in the Nightmare on Elm Street, level.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they have the preschool there. Because unfortunately they have remake Freddy, not original flavor Freddy.
Why?
Um,
Do you
I
know why?
guess I guess because that's what they got the rights to. They were
Yeah, well, I
probably
mean, that makes sense.
the studio was probably trying. It was the first collaboration they did, so I assume the studio
Oh,
was probably trying to push this movie at the time. Because Quentin's also a character in the game, which no one ever uses because he's Quentin. But so
I'm gonna play Dead by Daylight as Quentin from now on.
yeah, so you will be the only one because no one else does. But
At least then I'll stand out.
yeah. So they find Freddy's room. And as I said, the fact that these two teenagers were able to find this fucking secret room and no one else was, not the hordes of
So
lynch mob of the
easily,
parents, not the fucking police, no one,
please. And there's no
you know.
explanation of a cover up or them not even looking. Like,
Also
if they're trying to get rid of all these memories, wouldn't they just light the fucking school on fire too afterward?
yeah, also, so um if the police were never involved, why was this place shut down?
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So um they find all sorts of fucked up pictures of Nancy, and his box of Polaroids and stuff, and
Really happy we didn't see those.
yeah, well, I mean, they couldn't have shown those,
Of course not.
yeah. So I mean, even what do you call it, even simulating that got a Serbian film actually prosecuted for child porn in Spain. So
Yeah. Have I
yeah.
seen that yet? I have not seen that.
I don't know.
I don't think I
I
have.
I never recommend that movie to people because it kind of sucks, but it is the most shocking movie I've ever seen, but it's not a good movie at all.
Yeah, that's what you've
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of
Yeah.
those things where it's like, yeah, I guess you get the title of, yeah, this is the most fucked up movie I've ever watched, but it's not well written. So he's not after us because we lied. He's after us because we told the truth. He brought us here so we'd remember. And so Nancy says she knows what to do. She decides she's going to go to sleep on that nasty ass fucking bed.
I can't believe she like went to sleep on his bed. I would have sooner like gone to sleep on the like plywood thing that they used to break open that room for the cave.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that didn't
And,
make any sense.
and he gives her the medal he had, that they don't even show.
No, they
So
don't even. I was like, what the fuck is happening?
yeah, so she goes to sleep. Quentin pulls the blade off. What is a paper cutter? Well, I'm making like the jerk off motion. What is the paper cutter things called? Is that
Yeah,
just
it's
called
like
a paper cutter?
it's called like a paper cutter. It's like one of those giant blocks where you have the blade that comes down and cuts the paper. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was one of those like paper blades, one of those giant, nasty, rusty ass fucking paper blades that they like. You have to. I remember going through like training or some type of shit, like in order to like
Mhm.
be able to use it in grammar school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also
It is
realized that
sharp.
I also realized in a lot of the close-ups, Freddy kind of looks like a weird satanic rabbit.
See, yes, he does, and he also looks like Imhotep from the original Mummy.
Hmm. Which
Like
actually
if you look at
that
some of the
yeah,
CG, I was like,
yeah. No, which I guess that's
I'm like,
also I was gonna say I guess
yeah,
that's also the result of using CG to make kind of a fucked up facial look. Yeah.
yeah, no, entirely. I was like, did they hire the same like CG artist?
So here's where
Uh,
Nancy says "fuck you," and he's like, "Ooh, sounds like fun. A little fast for me." And
so now he gets super, super rapey, and it's fucked
yeah,
up. Like, I don't like
yeah,
super rapey Freddy.
yeah,
Also, you like children; they look like grown-ups.
yeah. So she's back in her
Messed up.
bedroom. Freddy's coming down the stairs, and she hides in the closet because I guess she's mistaking him for Michael Myers. And
Yep.
I was so prepared to be disappointed, but I do like that he was behind her in the closet because, Freddy dream power. So okay, I can accept that. But then once again they try to do, oh, well, let's do the her sinking into the floor even better and have the whole floor just turn into blood. It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. Then she's just completely covered in blood, and also the person covered in blood does not look like Rooney Mara whatsoever.
Yeah. How's that for a wet dream? So
Yeah, just bad. So she's completely drowning in blood, and then she falls through the ceiling, and she's all in white, and like one of her childhood dresses that now fits her as a
yeah,
teenager,
and
which makes sense.
Freddy's there just being
And
super
she becomes
molestery.
like somehow invisibly like tied to the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. She's screaming, Clinton or Clinton. She's screaming, Clinton, wake up.
Yeah.
Wake me up, because she wants him to wake her up, obviously.
Before
Before
he goes, of course. Because she's not
goes,
planning
yes.
on going solo. To take her
Oh my
dancing
God,
tonight.
fuck you. Oh my God, no, Charles, why?
I only have one word to say to
Yes.
you, Chelsea. Jitterbug.
No, don't say it. No. Oh, jitterbug is fine. Okay. Oh, fuck, it's there.
Yeah, I know.
Damn it, jitterbug.
The best part of this
Jitterbug.
is, what the best part of this is, because I'm such an awful person.
No, bad Charles, bad Charles,
Is the fact
bad,
that
no,
now,
no, no, no,
now,
no, no,
I,
no, 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 no.
yeah, I have now spread that song into the heads of literally everyone listening to this.
Oh, okay, I support this notion.
Yeah. So,
Then they'll never forget the jitterbug.
yeah. So, he says a whole bunch of really molestery things, and then finally he's like, "You can't hurt me. You're in my world, and you can't ever leave." And in the real world, Quentin wakes up. He's bleeding to death.
It happens.
Yeah, I had to keep
And
you
then
awake.
he wakes her up, basically, is what happens, and then like Freddy and Nancy come through the bed in Freddy's world and into.
Let me point out that our movie points out how absurd the way that he wakes her up, because he takes the adrenaline and he jabs her in the heart with it.
Oh yeah.
Which has been a problem of mine since Pulp Fiction. Because if you poke someone in the heart, you will kill them with adrenaline.
Yeah.
It does not wake them up faster. It kills them because you are puncturing their heart.
Common sense.
We have literally had a
Common sense.
We have literally had a nurse thank me for writing that line of dialogue.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes,
That's funny as shit.
Because she was when we were showing off the director's cut to people. Yeah, I had a nurse actually write me and thank me for having that line, because it bothers the shit out of her that people get stabbed in the heart with adrenaline when that would just puncture their fucking hearts and kill them. So
that's good to know. I never even really thought of that. Of course, I knew don't do that, but I never like actively thought of that.
Yeah. So
see, now you learned something. This is now a medical podcast.
Yeah. So now, as you said, they brought Freddy into the real world, and Nancy cuts off his hands. It hurts, doesn't it? That's because you're in my world now, bitch. And then I thought she was going to just chop his head off, but she just slits his throat with the paper cutter thing.
And that was the best. I'd say that Dean's throat slitting and Freddy's throat slitting were the best like practical effects in the movie that they did. 100%. Like I could not see any seams. I mean, like it's easier to see seams with Dean, and I didn't even see those with him. Those are so whoever their like HOD with SFX was great.
You know what they did. You know that they probably CGI'd just any seams away. With this movie, how CGI crazy they were.
Well, I'm just gonna give props to the special effects team.
Yeah. So Nancy now decides to burn the place down, along with, all the evidence that Nancy and Quentin weren't insane. Because
Mhm.
let's be honest here, that's where all the evidence of what happened is. Now they're just two kids who are acting erratically who are now committing arson,
Right.
you know? And then Nancy rides the ambulance with Quentin, despite not being in his immediate family.
Doesn't work.
you know, hey, Quentin, nightmare's over. She rests, finally going to sleep. And we get another exterior establishing shot for Nancy and her mom at home. And her mom wants to go straight to bed, and she thanks her mom for trying to protect her. And why don't you cover the end of the movie, Chelsea? Because I'm not fond of it.
It's just fucking crazy. Mom, you were trying to protect me. Thank you. Glad you're home safe. And then Freddy just stabs her through the eyes, through the mirror behind her, the mother,
Yeah,
and pulls her in through broken glass of the mirror into Freddy's world, and Nancy screams, and that's the end of the movie.
yeah. Which once again, trying to replicate the original ending in a way that I guess they're
Yeah.
like, let's do it more, and it's completely CG, and it doesn't look scary. It
Yeah,
doesn't
but
look,
you know what? You remember I didn't like Nancy's mom, how she got pulled through the door in the original.
yeah,
So I was like, oh,
yeah,
it looks better.
yeah.
But it's
I
not
just,
great. There should be another way to end this movie.
yeah,
Is moral of the story. There should be a different way to end this movie.
yeah. But that
Like
was,
you can kill the mom, but how about you just like Freddy's just there?
yeah.
That's
So,
Nightmare on Elm Street, 2010.
Clancy Brown's character was named Alan Smith. Um, he's just missing
There's
another.
no way that we would have known that.
Yeah, exactly. At no
Yep,
point do
I
they
know.
do they
I know.
say it. Yeah.
Yep.
The initial screenwriter was picked because he had impressed the producer with a prequel script for Seven that was never
Mm.
picked up, but it was a spec script he wrote. Um,
Hmm.
and then Eric Hezer was subsequently hired to provide a rewrite of his script, and then once again they combined another script with it. And yeah,
So
yeah.
this was a
So,
conglomerate of like 8 different scripts, is what you're saying.
well, more like three, but yeah, you
8.
know. So, I don't know. Like, I think that like there's so much they did wrong, and yet there were little hints of stuff that was like, ooh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
You
no, I
know?
completely agree. And again, like it's a product of the time.
Yeah,
Just like we talk about, like, you watch The Blob or something from the 30s, you're like, oh, it's a product of the time. This is now a product of the 2010s.
yeah, yeah. It's and as I
And
said,
they
it
could have done
does.
better.
It did very well at the box office, but most of that box office was first weekend when people were,
Yeah,
were going to check it out. And then,
excited to see it.
yeah. And I mean, every movie
Where was
drops
this? Where was Freddy versus Jason in this?
way before this.
Do you know? When was it was before this? Okay, so I
Yeah.
saw Freddy versus Jason way before this. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Freddy vs.
Yeah.
Jason was way, way, way
Because you
before
remember, as I
this.
said in the last podcast, everyone, that was the only one I saw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I
Yeah.
have to
Uh,
rewatch that.
yeah. Well, you shouldn't until you watch some of the sequels first. Watch
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah.
sequels of the
I
original.
mean,
You don't have to watch
it'd
all
be
of
really
them.
nice to have them like somewhere. It'd be really nice to have them somewhere that's available that you don't have to rent or buy them.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I mean, part three has like fucking, it's really funny how many, Johnny Depp kind of got his start in the first one. Fucking three, you get
Yes.
you get Patricia Arquette, you get Lawrence Fishburne. Like, it's crazy. Like,
Yeah. I was
who's,
talking, and you were like, we were talking about too, I think last week too, and I
yeah,
was around, like, I'm working with a bunch of people who are more heavily involved than I am in the queer community, and they love the sequel too. you know, they like, so you're right that people love the sequel. So I need to watch all those
Yeah, I told you that's a movie.
things that way.
That's the one that's very divisive, where it's like I don't think it works as a
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street sequel, but to the queer community, it's a huge film.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like why they dress as Freddy. Yeah, like it helped. Like I met people this week who have said that it helped them come out
Yeah, there's a
when they were younger.
there's a documentary about the lead called Scream Queen. Um who
Oh shit.
yeah, he was very closeted for a whole bunch of years, and then he finally just admitted it, and now he's like fully out and fully gay, and he's enjoying a whole lot of love of the community and
you.
everything. And yeah, so that's what happened with the sequel
All
to
right.
part one. But yeah, part three is still the best Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Right, and I believe you because if
Yeah.
Charles likes a movie, I generally trust that.
Yeah, as I said, that's the one where you get Lawrence Fishburne, you get Patricia Arquette's in that one.
Yeah.
It's really
That's
fun.
good. You know that the script's got to be good. You also know that even during that time period, that the script's got to be good to be like the third in the franchise and get names like that because they were already big from other things.
No, they weren't.
You know that the script.
No, they weren't yet. That's the thing. They weren't
No?
yet. No, they were all starting out.
Truly Madly. I no. I thought that like some other movies with both of them had already come out already.
No, Lawrence Fishburne was very early in his career at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Patricia Arquette had already like made her start though.
Let me take a look because I'm pretty sure it's because it wasn't even 1990 yet.
No,
So we're
it's okay.
talking very early in their careers. I want to let's see. Let me just look this up because I don't have my we're talking 1987.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the fucking movie that I'm fucking talking about with Patricia Arquette that really gave her a start. The one that came out. I don't remember what it was called.
I'm on IMDb right now. And then we will
It's
finish up.
bothering me,
So while I'm looking this up, Chelsea, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Oh yeah. So everyone, you can find me at Chelsea.LeSage on Instagram, and you can find Charles D. Lincoln at
Why don't you tell them?
D.Lincoln on Instagram, and then you can find us together at CL Squared Productions on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And then also, most importantly,
this was Patricia Arquette's first acting role.
Are you serious?
Yep, 1987.
That's cool.
The first thing on her IMDb.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad to be proven wrong. I like learning things.
Yeah.
Always be learning, children.
Patricia Arquette was in that, and I'm pretty sure Lawrence Fishburne hadn't really done very much with his career yet, and hadn't become the Lawrence Fishburne. In fact, he's still called Larry Fishburne in it.
Larry.
Yeah, he's credited as Larry Fishburne in the film.
Fishburne. CL Square Productions on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and we have a movie screening in our limited theatrical release of Bishop's Cove that is written and directed by Charles D. Lincoln, and he does a stellar performance in this as well as an actor. And I co-produced it. No, what are we saying now? I produced it with him.
Yes, we're both producers. We are both producers on the film.
Yes, and I played the Nameless, which is this weird conglomerate of every actor's dream characters, all like molded into one and made original by this weird man who I love, Charles D. Lincoln. And it was a dream to play, and we have a screening in Brooklyn this Saturday at 9 p.m. at the Film Noir Cinema. So come. Please, and you can sign things. There's a Q&A. You can have things signed. There's a Q&A. And what's the exact address?
122 Messerall Avenue.
Thank you. But please come.
So
Yes.
just
You're
to
focused
finish,
on Laurence Olivier.
yeah, before we finish up with Lawrence Fishburne. So Lawrence Fishburne had done,
Laurence Olivier, I said. That's
yeah,
hilarious.
Lawrence Fishburne had been acting for 15 years at this part, but he was all like, like he's like one of the rapists in Death Wish. Like he's, you
Right.
know, none of these were big roles, and this was his first like kind of supporting role.
Okay,
where he
fine. I
was,
gotta watch
yeah,
the sequels to the original. Got
yeah.
it.
I will say when you get to part 5, it's kind of pointless because part 5 sucks. But part 3 is the best one. Part 4 is optional. Part 4, I assume, is when Patricia Arquette actually got famous because she's not in that one. They recast the character.
Oh shit, it's the same character.
The same character, yeah. But she shows up in that one.
Interesting.
But
Don't tell me
it's
anymore. I don't want to know
yeah,
anymore.
I'll just say it's a different actress playing her. And then they wanted to finish the series with Freddy's Dead, which is technically, I think, part 7 or something, which explains Freddy Kreuger's backstory.
Oh my goodness.
And then
Is that
finally,
like the remake of fucking like it's like the beginning of the Michael Myers like reboot of the
No,
Halloween reboot?
no,
where
it's still within the original canon. Yeah,
cool. Copy you.
yeah. It's I'll just say in that one, it's Freddy after pretty much there's one last kid left on Elm Street. And all the others are dead.
Okay. Well, at least these people are on Elm Street.
Yeah. It's like all the other
And at
kids
that
are dead.
point- Okay.
And Freddy's trying to get this one last kid, and all the parents, like the whole town is a ghost town. All the parents have gone crazy because Freddy's murdered all their children. Like it's really dark, and then,
Cool.
the opening at least. And then it gets, some people hate how campy some of the kills Freddy does in this film are. I mean, there's one where he
Okay.
literally kills a kid inside a Nintendo game. Which is funny. I'll give away the joke.
Did they give? Yeah.
I'll
go
give
ahead.
away the joke there because because it got a laugh when I saw this in the theater, but he's killing a kid in a Nintendo game and someone else goes to try to interfere in the dream world and takes the controller away from Freddy. And then Freddy pulls up his glove and he's got like fucking buttons on it. He's like, you forgot about the power glove, which was a Nintendo, like, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's fucking funny. And the Power Gloves did not last long, so that was probably out
No.
of date by the time it went to theaters.
I think it was only like maybe 3 or 4 years out of date, but yeah, it was still, everyone remembered it. So the fact that when the guy takes the controller away from Freddy and then he pulls up his glove and his glove has like the buttons on it now, it's like, you forgot about the power glove.
You forgot about the Power Gloves.
Yeah, and then he
Like,
kills the kid using that. Yeah. So
listen, Freddy, you got some explaining to do. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Please come see Bishop's Cove.
mhm.
You're gonna have a great time. It's the director's cut, so you get to see all the fucked up weird shit that
Mhm.
Charles and I actually got to do, and you will be greeted
Yep.
by some cast. It's wonderful.
Yep, 8 additional scenes, so it'll be really cool.
Yeah, so we'll see you on Saturday.
All right. See you, everybody. And I almost forgot that we're covering the Texas Chainsaw Massacre next week. So tune in for that.
No.
So
The
get your white
pants.
Get your white pants that will never stain, because we're going to talk about it next week. All right, people. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you. Love you all. Bye.
All right. Bye.